Thinking and communication problems. I hope after my first 50 videos on limits, you are in a position to tackle these problems. I would like you to make a note of these problems and try to solve them yourself and then look into my solution. By doing so, you'll gain more confidence. Okay. Now the question here is, examine limit x approaching 0 of the function, which is 1 over 3 plus 2 to the power of 1 over x. Copy the question and try to do it yourself. You can stop the video and then look into my solution. Now here is how I will do. So when we say limit of function as x approaching 0, then we should consider a function from both sides. When x approaches 0 from the left, that is 0 minus, and when x approaches 0 from the right, that is 0 plus. So I'll divide this page into two parts to examine this function from both the sides. Okay, so let's say this is when we'll find the limit when x is approaching 0 from the left, which is minus side, and on this side we'll find the limit when x is approaching 0 from the right side, which is like this. So what I'm trying to say here, that in this portion x is greater than 0 and here x is less than 0, correct? So these are the two values which you will see, and if we get the same result at the end, then the limit exists, otherwise limit does not exist. Well, this part is very important for gaining full marks in communication, right? Therefore, don't forget to mention this when this question comes into your test paper. Okay, now let's see what happens when x approaches 0 from negative side. Now look at this. When x approaches 0 from negative side, so think like this. Okay, I should have written x here. Okay, x is approaching 0 from negative side, then what happens to 1 over x? In that case, 1 over x approaches minus infinity, correct? When x approaches 0 from negative side, 1 over x approaches minus infinity. I hope you remember how 1 over x acts, right? Let me sketch that graph also on the side, or let me do it here for you. This I'm only doing 1 over x, okay? Let me write here 1 over x. So 1 over x graph looks like this, correct? So as x is approaching 0 from negative side, as x is approaching 0, the origin from negative side, then 1 over x, this is 1 over x, is approaching negative infinity. That's what I wrote. So simultaneously, let me write on the right side also. I'll use a different ink on the right side, that as x approaches 0 from the positive side, then 1 over x approaches positive infinity, right? You see that? Approaching positive infinity. That is what it is. So these are the two conditions which we are working on. Okay. Now, so what happens to 2 to the power of 1 over x? Let's see that part. So as x approaches 0 from negative side, 1 over x approaches negative infinity, and therefore we'll say 2 to the power of 1 over x will be we can replace this by 2 to the power of minus infinity, correct? Which is saying as good as 1 over 2 to the power of infinity, correct? 2 to the power of minus infinity is like 1 over 2 to the power of infinity. So 1 over a very large number is approaching 0. Is that okay? So that is what is happening to this number, 2 to the power of 1 over x, correct? And therefore, our question now becomes limit x approaching 0 over 1 over 3 plus 2 to the power of 1 over x. This was the question. And now it becomes limit x approaches 0 for function 1, 3 over 0. Because 2 to the power of infinity, right, becomes 0. And that is 1 over 3. Is that okay? So that limit on the left hand side when we are approaching x from minus side, okay, we get limit of 1 over 3. So that's our answer for the left side limit, correct? Let's examine what happens to our function as x approaches from the positive side. Now let's do the same math here. As x approaches from positive side, that means from this side, 1 over x approaches infinity. And therefore, 2 to the power of 1 over x approaches 2 to the power of infinity, correct? Now, so we'll replace 2 to the power of 1 over x by 2 to the power of infinity. So the limit here is that we are saying limit, I should have written minus here, right, in front of the minus side, and limit when x approaching, we are examining when it approaches from the positive side for the function 1 over 3 plus 2 to the power of 1 over x. Now as you have seen here, if 0 is positive, right, approaching from positive side, in that case this 1 over x becomes infinity, right, 2 to the power of infinity. So I can write this function as limit x approaches 0 from positive side, I have 1 over 3 plus infinity, correct? Because 2 to the power of infinity is what? 2 to the infinity is a very large number. It's infinity, not 0. Do you see that? So it becomes infinity. Now infinity is a very large number. 1 divided by infinity, a very large number, should give me 0, correct? So the right hand limit for this function is 0. So we say left side limit equals to 1 over 3 and the right side limit is equal to 0. They're not equal since they are not equal. Let me just push the page a bit. We say limit does not exist. You understand? So that is how we are going to solve this problem. So don't forget to communicate at each step what you're trying to do. Okay? So examine your function as x approaches 0 from negative side and from the positive side. Negative side, I mean left side, and positive side means right side. And show your work. Correct? We saw that when x approaches from negative side, that means x approaches 0 minus, the limit is 1 over 3. But when x approaches 0 plus, the limit is 0. Since both the limits are different, they are not the same, limit of the function does not exist at x equals to 0, right? So this function's limit does not exist. You get it? That's how we'll do it. Thank you.